Alcohol isn't what you think it is. It's not a harmless drink. It's not just something to take the edge off after a long day or make a night out more fun. It's not even about relaxation or celebration. It's a spiritual sedative, a carefully disguised weapon that has been dulling your intuition, lowering your energetic defenses, and pulling you away from your true self since long before you ever poured your first glass. And the most dangerous part, you've been taught to see it as harmless, even sophisticated. The programming runs so deep you barely notice it. But beneath the smiles, the toasts, and the rituals, alcohol has been altering your frequency in ways you were never meant to experience. This isn't a lecture about morality or health. This is about something far more uncomfortable, something ancient, something hidden, and something most spiritual seekers will never be told, until now. Long before alcohol became a casual fixture in bars, dinner tables, and weekend parties, it was something entirely different. Its roots stretch far back into the hidden corridors of ancient wisdom, where mystics, alchemists, and spiritual initiates understood its true power. The very word alcohol reveals a forgotten truth. Derived from the Arabic term al-kul, it originally referred not to a drink, but to a fine black powder used around the eyes. Yet within the alchemical traditions, the meaning went far deeper. Al-kul described the process of distillation itself, of drawing the essence, the spirit, out of matter. The alchemists knew that this process wasn't merely physical. It was symbolic of separating the soul from the body, pulling the living essence out of form. That's why, even today, we call alcoholic beverages spirits. It isn't just poetic language. It's a linguistic echo of an ancient understanding. Alcohol extracts the spirit from matter, but when consumed recklessly, it can extract your own spiritual essence too. The ancients didn't take this lightly. Alcohol was treated with both reverence and fear. It was not designed for casual indulgence or idle entertainment. It was a tool of transformation, used carefully within sacred rites, ceremonies, and initiation rituals. Only the initiated, those trained to navigate altered states responsibly, were allowed to work with it. The risk was well known. Misuse could sever one's grounding, unbind the self from its higher centers, and open portals that could not easily be closed. Modern society has forgotten this. Or perhaps more accurately, it has chosen to bury it. Today, alcohol flows freely, stripped of its spiritual context, reduced to a marketing tool dressed up in glamour and sophistication. But its energetic essence remains unchanged. What was once recognized as a volatile substance capable of manipulating the soul has been repackaged as harmless fun. And this ignorance has left us vulnerable in ways most people never imagine. Because alcohol doesn't simply relax your mind or loosen your social anxiety. It doesn't merely give you confidence or make you more fun. Every sip alters your frequency, disturbs your energetic field, and fractures the delicate balance that keeps your spiritual alignment intact. What the ancients warned us about is still happening, but now, without awareness, without respect, and without the protections they once employed. The danger isn't just physical, it's spiritual. And that's precisely why almost no one talks about it. Because to question alcohol isn't just to question a habit, it's to challenge one of the most deeply embedded pillars of cultural programming. It's to acknowledge that something we've been sold as harmless or even beneficial might actually be pulling us further from the very clarity and connection we seek. Some of what we've uncovered about alcohol's esoteric origins is simply too sensitive to fully share here. That's why we've created Insights Academy, our free newsletter, where we go deeper into these suppressed teachings. The link is in the description, and for a limited time, you'll also receive a free digital copy of The Kabbalion when you join. But here's the truth that most will never hear. Alcohol has always been more than a beverage. It is an energetic solvent, dissolving not just physical tensions but the barriers that protect your spiritual core. Used in sacred ritual by the initiated, it could open doors to higher states. But when consumed blindly, casually, habitually, it opens doors you may not even know exist. Doors that allow energies, thought forms, and influences to seep into your field. And unlike a hangover, These subtle, energetic consequences don't simply fade by morning. What makes alcohol uniquely dangerous is that its harm doesn't come like a storm. It comes softly, subtly, in ways that feel like release. You feel lighter, more open, more social. You laugh louder, talk freer. But behind that temporary euphoria, something more insidious is happening. You're loosening the threads that keep you grounded, weakening the subtle boundaries that guard your intuition, your discernment, your sovereignty. With every drink, your field becomes just a little more porous, your clarity a little more clouded. And because it feels good in the moment, you don't see the erosion until you've drifted far from where you began. The problem is not that alcohol creates pleasure. It's that it offers you a counterfeit version of the connection you're truly seeking. You believe you're becoming more yourself when you drink, but in reality, you're drifting further from your essence. And the longer you live in that false self, the harder it becomes to even remember what true alignment feels like. This isn't about shame or judgment. It's about awareness. When you understand the true nature of alcohol, you start to see why ancient traditions treated it so carefully. They weren't being puritanical. They were protecting something far more precious than your body. They were protecting your soul. Most people only think of alcohol's effects in terms of what happens to their brain or body. Slurred speech, loss of balance, a foggy mind. But very few consider what's happening underneath those physical symptoms, in the layer of you that's invisible to the eye but central to your being, your energy field. You are not just muscle, bone, and thought. You are vibration, a field of energy in constant motion, radiating, receiving, and interacting with the world around you at every moment. And alcohol alters that field in ways most of us were never taught to recognize. Your energetic field, your aura, your light body, your subtle system, is not some mystical theory. It's the architecture of your spiritual sovereignty. It holds your intuition, your clarity, your higher guidance. It acts as both a receiver and a shield, allowing you to tune into your inner truth while filtering out energies that don't belong to you. When that field is strong, you feel connected, aligned, aware. But when it fractures, when it weakens, you become vulnerable to influences that you may not even recognize as foreign. This is where alcohol operates silently. As you drink, it doesn't just numb your mind. It creates microscopic tears in your energetic structure. These aren't dramatic explosions of energy. They're subtle punctures that slowly compromise the integrity of your field. Your aura becomes porous. Your boundaries soften. Energies that would normally bounce off your field begin to seep in. Thought forms, emotional residues, even parasitic influences that thrive on disconnection find an easier path into your space. And because the process is gradual, most people never see it happening. One of the first symptoms of this energetic weakening is the dulling of intuition. That quiet voice within you, the one that warns, guides, and nudges you toward alignment, becomes harder to hear. You second-guess yourself more often. You feel slightly more reactive, slightly less stable. Over time, that subtle disconnection becomes your new normal, and you mistake it for who you are. But it's not. It's the erosion of clarity masquerading as personality. The energetic disruption isn't uniform. Different aspects of your system are affected in different ways. Your root chakra, linked to survival, physical pleasure, and grounding, becomes overstimulated. You feel more connected to the material, more driven by base desires. Meanwhile, your crown chakra, your bridge to higher consciousness, becomes dulled, blocked, and muted. The pathways that allow you to access elevated states of awareness are slowly choked. You feel alive in your body but disconnected from your higher self. That's the trade-off alcohol offers: temporary grounding at the cost of spiritual clarity. And because alcohol's effects are socially celebrated, the damage is normalized. You're encouraged to drink, to loosen up, to open up, to be more sociable. But what's really happening is that your energetic boundaries are being lowered. Yes, you become more open, but not in a way that heals. You become open in a way that exposes you. You're not just connecting with friends, you're absorbing fragments of the environment, the emotions of others, and influences you were never meant to carry. The longer this continues, the harder it becomes to reverse. Your meditation feels foggier. Your dreams grow chaotic or distant. Your instincts feel unreliable. You struggle to sit in stillness because the disconnection has become your baseline. You may even begin to believe that you need alcohol to access confidence, creativity, or connection. But that's the illusion. Alcohol doesn't create those qualities. It suppresses the noise for a moment, giving you a brief glimpse of what's already inside you. But then it creates more noise of its own, burying your true essence even deeper. This is why people often report feeling energetically drained or emotionally scattered after drinking, even when they aren't hungover. It's not just dehydration or fatigue. It's the subtle dismantling of your spiritual center. You wake up feeling heavy, off, like something is missing. And because you've never been taught to associate these sensations with energetic damage, you reach for the very thing that caused the fracture in the first place, believing it will restore the ease you're missing. And so, the cycle repeats. If you've ever felt like alcohol temporarily unlocks a version of you that's more expressive, more alive, more free, you're not wrong. But what you're experiencing isn't your authentic self emerging. It's your spiritual defenses stepping back. It's not confidence, it's exposure. And over time, that exposure comes with a cost most people never calculate. The manipulation of your energy field doesn't require your awareness. It operates regardless of belief. Just as gravity doesn't care if you believe in it, energetic principles don't require your consent to function. Whether you see your aura or not, whether you believe in chakras or not, the mechanics remain in play. Alcohol alters your state, not just chemically, but vibrationally. And in that altered state, you become accessible to energies that were previously held at bay. This is the part of alcohol no one teaches you. This is the level of vulnerability you were never warned about. Because understanding this truth would challenge one of the most powerful and profitable cultural scripts ever written. The script that says alcohol is harmless, even essential, to fully living your life. But once you see what's happening behind the scenes, you can't unsee it. And that's where real freedom begins. You weren't born craving alcohol. You didn't emerge into this world with a deep desire to numb yourself or reach for a bottle to feel whole. That urge was carefully taught to you, embedded in your psyche through years of exposure, repetition, and subtle reinforcement. From your earliest memories, alcohol was presented not as a dangerous substance but as a normal, even necessary part of adulthood. It became part of the script you were handed before you could even read the words. Think back to the moments that shaped your understanding of alcohol. The family gatherings where glasses clinked and adults laughed, while children watched with wide eyes. The movies where charismatic heroes sipped whiskey to show confidence or sophistication. The TV shows where celebrations, promotions, heartbreaks, and victories all involved a drink. These weren't random scenes, they were training sessions. Each time you witnessed alcohol being associated with pleasure, status, or comfort, the conditioning took root a little deeper. The programming was subtle but relentless. You learned that drinking wasn't just acceptable, it was expected. To refuse a drink at a party felt awkward. To abstain from alcohol entirely was seen as strange, even antisocial. The system doesn't simply market alcohol as a product, it sells it as a cultural currency, a symbol of freedom, adulthood, and connection. And the genius of this programming lies in how seamlessly it operates. It never feels like coercion, it feels like choice. But what you're choosing has been heavily scripted from the moment you could observe the world around you. Advertising agencies, film studios, and corporations have spent billions perfecting this script. They understand human psychology better than most people understand themselves. They know that to embed a behavior deeply, you don't attack directly, you seduce gently. Show beautiful people laughing, celebrating, connecting over drinks. Make alcohol synonymous with joy, sex appeal, confidence, and social belonging. Attach it to milestones, holidays, and rites of passage. And over time, the line between alcohol and genuine emotional experience becomes so blurred that most people can't distinguish one from the other. This is why so many people struggle to enjoy a night out, a wedding, or even a simple meal without alcohol present. The association has been built so thoroughly that joy feels incomplete without it. The system has done its job well. It has made alcohol feel like an extension of your emotional landscape. You drink to celebrate, to mourn, to relax, to escape, to connect. There's a drink for every mood, every occasion. And behind that emotional versatility lies the trap. Alcohol has become woven into the very fabric of your identity. Even the language we use reflects this deep-rooted programming. Phrases like taking the edge off, loosening up, or having a few to unwind frame alcohol as a solution rather than a problem. They normalize dependency while disguising vulnerability. Society doesn't shame you for using alcohol to cope. It encourages it. It sells you the idea that adulthood is stressful and that alcohol is a well-earned relief. But what it doesn't tell you is that the relief is temporary and the cost is cumulative. This isn't just marketing. It's psychological warfare dressed in celebration. The earlier this conditioning begins, the stronger its grip. Fast food chains partnered with media franchises to create Happy Meals bundled with toys linked to your favorite cartoons. Before you ever tasted alcohol, you were already being trained to equate consumption with happiness. By the time you reached legal drinking age, the script was already running so deep that reaching for a drink felt natural, even inevitable. The most dangerous part of this conditioning is that it disguises itself as freedom. The system tells you that drinking is your choice, your right, your expression of independence. But what kind of freedom is it when the choice was implanted in you before you even understood what was being offered? Real freedom requires awareness. Without it, what feels like choice is often just compliance wearing a clever mask. This is why questioning alcohol feels so uncomfortable. It's not just about challenging a habit. It's about confronting a lifetime of cultural programming that told you who to be, how to feel, and how to connect. When you start pulling on that thread, you realize how much of your identity has been shaped by forces that never had your best interests at heart. You see how the system profits from your disconnection, your dependency, and your spiritual dulling. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You start to notice how pervasive the script is. The commercials, the films, the music videos, the social rituals, all gently nudging you back toward the bottle, back toward compliance. Not because you need it, but because they need you to believe that you do. Because as long as you believe you need alcohol to feel alive, they own a piece of your sovereignty. When most people talk about alcohol's risks, they speak about addiction, liver damage, poor decisions, or hangovers. But there's a deeper layer almost no one dares to explore. Beyond the physical consequences lies a subtle yet far more dangerous reality. Alcohol doesn't just leave you vulnerable physically, it leaves you vulnerable spiritually. Every time you drink, you aren't just loosening your inhibitions, you're lowering your energetic guard. And when that guard is down, you're not the only one who notices. Ancient traditions across the world understood that the human energy field is not just a personal bubble, it's a boundary. It protects you from influences that don't belong to you. But alcohol weakens that boundary, creating openings that allow energies, thought forms, and entities to access you. These aren't fairy tales or superstitions. They're consistent patterns described in esoteric systems spanning cultures and continents, from Eastern mysticism to Western occult traditions, shamanic practices to Hermetic philosophy. They all warn of what can happen when you enter altered states without spiritual discipline or awareness. In some traditions, these intrusions are called obsessing spirits. In others, astral larvae, parasitic entities, or subnatural beings. The names differ, but the pattern remains the same. Non-physical intelligences that feed on disconnection, chaos, and lowered consciousness. And alcohol, by design, makes you an easier target. Because when your field fractures, your vibrational frequency drops. You're no longer emitting the steady, coherent energy of an aligned being. You're broadcasting confusion, instability, and emotional vulnerability. And just as predators seek out the weak in the animal kingdom, these entities are drawn to the energetically exposed. You may think this sounds far-fetched, but consider your own experience. Think of someone you've seen blackout drunk, the emptiness behind their eyes, the absence of their usual presence, the unpredictable behavior that seems foreign even to themselves. It's not just intoxication, it's spiritual dissociation. The light dims, and something else steps forward. Not always fully, not always dramatically, but enough to act through the weakened vessel. Enough to leave a lingering imprint that isn't easily explained by biology alone. These intrusions don't always manifest as possessions or dramatic outbursts. Often they're far more insidious. They embed themselves as compulsive thoughts, cravings, emotional instability, or self-destructive patterns. You think the impulse to drink again is just habit, but what if it's being whispered into your consciousness by an energy that benefits from your disconnection? What if the cycle of addiction is being fueled not just by your own chemistry, but by influences that thrive on keeping you in that vulnerable state? The system never had to warn you about this because acknowledging it would pull back the curtain on the true cost of unconscious consumption. Instead, it ridicules these ideas as fantasy, superstition, or outdated spiritual thinking. But ancient cultures didn't share these warnings out of ignorance. They shared them because they understood how the layers of reality intersect. They knew that when you alter your state without intention, without preparation, without protection, you aren't just playing with your own mind. You're opening doors you may not know how to close. And the danger compounds because most people don't believe they're opening anything at all. The programming taught you that alcohol only affects your mood, your coordination, your social filters. It never taught you about the energetic infrastructure beneath your waking consciousness. It never told you that your field is your first line of defense against influences you cannot see. And so you move through the world unaware, lowering your guard with each drink, laughing, bonding, performing, while unseen forces quietly attach themselves to your weakened state. Over time, these influences don't just come and go with your hangover. They embed themselves into your patterns. They shape your desires, feed your anxieties, and encourage the behaviors that keep your vibration low. You start to crave the very thing that weakens you, and you don't even know why. You become a vessel not for your highest self, but for cycles of confusion, dependency, and spiritual erosion. And because the culture celebrates your participation, you rarely question it. You mistake the voice of disconnection for your own inner dialogue. This isn't meant to frighten you for the sake of fear. It's meant to expose the reality you were never taught to see. Because once you understand what's really happening beneath the surface, you can begin to reclaim your authority over your own field. You can close the openings, repair the fractures, and strengthen the integrity of your energy once again. But that process starts with awareness. Awareness of just how much you've been conditioned to accept as harmless, and how much is happening beyond your five senses. The first step is seeing the trap for what it really is. Alcohol's grip on your life isn't built on pain. That's what makes it so deceptive. It doesn't come to you with fear or threat. It comes dressed in comfort, in laughter, in relief. It offers you a brief escape from the weight of your own mind, from the voices that whisper your doubts, fears, and unspoken wounds. And in that temporary quiet, it feels like freedom. You mistake the absence of tension for true connection. But what you're experiencing isn't freedom, it's suppression. It's the numbing of messages your soul has been trying to deliver. We live in a culture that teaches us from childhood to avoid discomfort. Pain is something to be managed, not explored. Emotional tension is inconvenient, not instructive. Vulnerability is seen as weakness, not as an invitation to heal. So when we stumble upon something that allows us to mute that inner noise almost instantly, we cling to it like salvation. Alcohol slides into that role effortlessly. It silences what you don't want to feel and gives you a temporary sensation of ease. But that ease comes with a hidden price. The disconnection grows a little deeper each time. What most people are truly seeking when they drink isn't the alcohol itself. It's a glimpse of their own uninhibited self. That version of you who can speak without fear, dance without self-judgment, laugh without reservation. The version of you who isn't paralyzed by anxiety, doubt,